An accomplished violinist, he has performed and taught all over the world. In August of 2015, he was invited by Daji to co-author the book, The Heartfulness Way. Mr. Rishabh Kothari is an entrepreneur by profession and a heartfulness meditation trainer by passion. He is the CEO of CKC Fragrances, the Vice President of the Fragrance and Flavor Association of India, member of the National MSME Board of the Government of India, as well as an MSME Chair of the NCCI. He often writes and contributes to various publications and periodicals and is also the editor of a perfumery journal. Please welcome with a huge round of applause Mr. Joshua Pollock and Mr. Rishabh Kothari.
And welcome to this session on free will and destiny. I was very intrigued about this topic, Joshua, because when we talk about free will, I'm not sure that I have one. Most of it is decided by someone in the audience here, my wife. So it's very interesting to talk about free will, but how free are we really? And how does that connect to destiny?
Well, I would say this is probably one of the most complex subjects that has been torturing humanity as long as we've been here.
You're not talking about the wife, right?
Also torturing me, perhaps. But no, free will, we have these two opposing concepts, free will and then destiny. And it's funny because neither of them are really absolutes, right? Because, destiny is something where, well, I'll put it like this. To put it in a very simple way, we can say that we usually think of destiny as that which is beyond our control, right? I can't control destiny. Right? Whereas free will, on the other hand, is that which is definitely within my control. It is within my sphere of influence, right? So we have these two opposing things. Now we can even look at it in a simpler way and say that destiny is my circumstances. My free will is how I can respond to my circumstances, what I can do. So, but neither absolute, of course. Because if my free will, suppose I had absolute free will, I could just glance at this beautiful building and say, oh, I'd like to live here, and then it would be done. I would just have the thought, and it would happen. But that obviously doesn't happen. So obviously there's a limitation to my free will. And obviously there's a limitation to destiny. Because if destiny was absolute, then I could not influence it one bit. I probably wouldn't even be able to stand up from this chair. So we can also see that there are different sort of spectrums of free will and spectrums of destiny. Somebody in a vegetative state, so a coma victim, they would not be able to stand up from this chair. What kind of free will can they exert in their lives? Now, there are limitations. On the physical level, right, I can act. I have agency. But does that mean that I can beat Usain Bolt in a race? No, I'm limited by my genetics, by my lack of physical training, right? So, but then there's the mental level too. Mental level, I have some more freedom, I think. Because my father, he's a farmer. But of course, that doesn't prohibit me from getting a master's degree. That doesn't prohibit me from getting a PhD if I want to. But that, on the other hand, doesn't mean that I'll be able to compete with Einstein. So on this mental level, there's more freedom, but there's still a limitation. And now if you look, in this land, in this city of Ramakrishna, in this city of Vivekananda, in this land of yoga, you can talk about a spiritual level too. And that is a promise. The promise of absolute freedom on the spiritual level, that is supposed to be absolute. That is supposed to be irrespective of your genetics, irrespective of your mental capacities, of your education.
Interesting. So tell me something, when we talk about free will, tell me something about your own journey and how much do you think you were guided by destiny and how much was it your own free will?
I think that, in my own life, I think we have the possibility of gaining more and more and more freedom. See, he's asked me about my own life, but actually when I think of my own life, I'm thinking more about my family. I'm thinking of my father actually at the moment. Because here's somebody who is unusual, because he did not like the rat race, right? He did not want to live in, he wanted to make life on his own terms. So back in the 70s, my parents, they moved away from New York City. They moved away from New York City and they got about as far away as they possibly could in the US. They went to the state of Maine, just on the border of Canada. And they got a hold of 60 acres of just woods, just forest land, which in those days was only $5,000. And they said, let's build a house. Let's live on our own terms. Let's make our own life. So they built their own house with their own two hands. And ever since I was a kid, they've been growing everything that they eat. They grow in their own garden. Right? There, it's a very cold place. Right? So it gets down to -15, -20. Now, so you have to heat the place. So they said, let's not rely on the gas company. Okay, let's chop our own wood. We'll have a wood stove, we'll burn it. So they did everything on their own. So in a certain way, you could say they defied whatever destiny was waiting for them in the city, created their own lives, utilized their free will. But there's another kind of destiny which is plaguing my father, and that is, since I was a child up until now, he is more and more and more plagued by the onset of anxiety. Okay? To the extent where when I went to visit him a few weeks ago, he doesn't smile anymore. He was such a cheerful person when I was growing up, but now there's not even a smile. They had the midterm elections in the US, right? And I remember him agonizing, what if I go into the voting booth and I forget everybody who I'm supposed to vote for? What if I can't do it? So my mother was coaching him, saying, you know who the candidates are you want to vote for. It'll be easy. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And you know what? If you can't remember anything, that's okay too. You just fold it up and you give it to them. Nobody's going to even look. So for even the smallest things, he now has to muster up the courage for the smallest. Now, when you think about it, well, if you define destiny as your circumstances and free will to as your response to your circumstances, now he doesn't even have the freedom to respond to his circumstances. That freedom doesn't exist for him because every thought he has and every action he's about to take, he's unable to do it because of some inner impulse now, which is saying, no, you can't do it. So this is another aspect. I think we have greater and lesser amounts of free will determined and based on the inner baggage that we're carrying. See, if I have so much emotional baggage, I'm going to act and think and feel in accordance with that baggage. If I have anxiety, I'm going to think and act and feel in accordance with that. If I have so many desires and compulsions, that's also going to dictate everything that I do. So what kind of freedom is there for me? So I think the real kind of freedom that we can attain is an inner freedom. An inner freedom to be able to respond exactly to our circumstances, irrespective of, without any sort of inner impulse saying, no, you can't do this. It's inner freedom.
So Joshua, today in this very troubled times on the global platform, and there is so much of anxiety in people regarding freedom. Freedom is in democratic societies, people are wondering how to tackle this whole issue. We just had one session where privacy laws, and there was we heard the whole panel talk about these challenges. So you have this global concern about freedom and free will, and how as an individual I exercise my free will. And you have that at a very individual level where people are anxious today. We appear to be more free today. We live in a more civilized society today. And yet, people feel more and more constrained. It's like the big brother is watching us, or somebody else is stealing our data, or there's so many challenges today. Life has become so complex. Unfortunately, not very many people have the courage to do what your parents did, to just redesign their destiny in some way. How do you think this whole individual freedom maps to the overall. How do we become what we have to become to affect a change in society and in the lives of everyone?
Society is something which is nothing but the sum total of individuals, of course.
Yes.
So when we speak about societal change, we have to realize we're really speaking about individual change. And when we speak about individual change, we're not speaking about the change, my wife, or my husband, or my kids, or my parents. No, we're talking about me, myself, my individual change. So I think our first responsibility is to look after that. After some progress has been made in this respect, then there comes the possibility of influence. Look, because suppose you meditate, for instance, right? You meditate, and all of a sudden you find these qualities. You find these qualities of peace. You find some inner silence. You find some joy bubbling forth from within, right? Now, is that for me alone to enjoy this peace? And if so, that would only prove the arguments of so many. Meditation is a selfish activity. What are you doing for society when you meditate? How many times I've heard this? Well, then it would be true. But if, on the other hand, these beautiful inner states, which I promise you I experience every single day when I meditate in the morning, these beautiful inner states, if you can now express them, if you can make them dynamic in your life, now all of a sudden I'm not making trouble for my family members anymore, right? I'm no longer making trouble for them. They're benefiting from the peace that I'm also experiencing. So now in my immediate circle of influence, however large or small that sphere may be, now others are also getting a taste of, my own state of being, and I can express that further and further and further. So I think that's the number one thing. We find something, how does this work anyway? I don't want to talk too much, but you see, now I get inspired. We have to understand, in a human being, okay, according to yoga anyway, in a human being, we have something so precious, so sacred on the inside. You can call it anything. You can call it your soul if you like. You can call it your essence, but something that's beautiful inside. And then on the outside, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have this physicality, this body. And the nature of both these things, they seem to be of different natures, of opposing natures, in fact. Because this body, it exists within this physical universe. It's subject to the physical laws, the nature of this physical world, which of course is instability, which we all experience every day. Instability, change, movement, right? That's why, if you take my parents who wanted to move up to the middle of nowhere for some peace, they find, to chop the wood every day, how much peace do you get? To have to grow all your food, to build your own house? Oh, that's not a restful life. I grew up like that. I know, we didn't even have hot water in the house, okay? There's so much inconvenience associated with that. So, I don't think it's so possible to find lasting peace, lasting serenity externally. I just don't think so, because that's not the nature of this world. Okay? So, on the physical level, there's this instability, but on the inner level, it's absolutely the opposite. There we can find true peace. That's its nature. Its nature is silence, it's balance, right? So what is our experience going to be in life? You see, in between these two things, there's something else, which we call consciousness. And consciousness, that's where we feel everything. That's where we experience everything. That's what our life experience is. And the nature of that consciousness depends, where is my attention? Am I completely oriented externally? If so, then my life experience is going to reflect all that chaos from outside. If, on the other hand, I can orient myself internally, then my life experience is going to reflect the beauty and the balance and the inner silence and peace that's available inside. So for me, this is the biggest, this is the number one thing. If I can meditate and I can experience everything that I'm seeking through that meditation, it limits all this running around that I have to do to try to experience it externally, and it also creates a beautiful destiny for myself in terms of what my experience of, my daily experience of life is going to be.
So you think it is possible to design your destiny with a practice like this?
Absolutely, it's possible because, you know, you can understand in another way. You know, yesterday I flew here from Delhi, right? I think I met so many people attending this literary meet on the plane, in fact. And we were delayed so long, too. Now, that's neither here nor there. But we had the airline kept making us get into line, sit back down again, get into line, get on the bus, then the bus didn't move, then get on the plane, everyone boards. So there's not much to do, right? All you do is see all these faces of these strangers. So when you're sitting in the plane like this, and so many people are filing down the aisle, you start to have opinions about everybody you see. You see this person's face, you think, oh, okay, they look nice. You see somebody else, and you maybe think something different, right? So all these thoughts that we have about everybody we see, and all those thoughts are associated with some, I mean, let's face it, it's emotion. Like or dislike, it's an emotion. It doesn't have to be hatred or love. It's just something very subtle, like or dislike. So our thoughts, they are emotions, generally, right? And now what happens to us as a result of these emotional reactions that we have again and again and again? Do those emotional reactions create an effect upon us? Yes, they create an effect. Is that effect, does it just evaporate after that incident is finished, or does it stay with us? And I would say that it does stay with us, because later on, something can happen. It re-triggers an old emotion. You can meet somebody, it reminds you of somebody you didn't like when you were a kid, right? It re-triggers an old emotion. That shows that the emotions are going inside somewhere and just sitting there, taking up space, right? Now, if that's the case, if I go on having experience after experience after experience, emotional reaction after reaction after reaction, and it's all going inside, now what happens? Now am I seeing the world as it is anymore? Or am I seeing it through the filter of these past experiences, these past emotions? And if that's the case, how am I going to respond to things as they are? Right? So I am building up a destiny whether I like it or not. I'm building up a destiny based on how I react emotionally to everything that I see, how I think about everything that I encounter. And that destiny is going to have an enormous impact on the quality of my life, upon my actions, everything. So if a destiny is being built in any case, why not take some agency, some initiative, and design that destiny so that it's a positive future that we're building in this, the present moment, which is where we build our future after all. So this is what we can achieve. And we can achieve this in two simple ways. One way is to learn how to become non-reactive. That's very important. We do this through meditation, because all the time you're having thoughts, and you're learning to not react to your thoughts, you're learning to ignore them. Now this becomes training to become non-reactive when you see things, to be able to see things as they are, respond to them as they are. That's number one. Second thing, we actually can remove so much baggage from ourselves. There are ways. That's what heartfulness is all about. We can remove baggage from ourselves. We can learn how not to accumulate new luggage that we have to carry around with ourselves everywhere. And therefore, the type of destiny that we build for ourselves, it becomes a beautiful destiny.
Interesting. You spoke about so many of these aspects, but how really possible is it? Can you just?
I wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't possible.
Can you demonstrate it for us? Would it be possible? Can we have a short session where you can tell us how do we go about this?
I can give you, if you want it, I can give you a taste, a sort of fragrance of what you can experience, through meditation. We can You can definitely experience a hint of this within 10 minutes. If this
10
appeals
minutes?
to you, would you like that?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, we can do that.
We'll take up your challenge or your offer. So what do we need to do?
It's very easy. See, when we meditate like this, we call this heartfulness. So that means that, we're not meditating on our knees or on the top of our heads. We're meditating on the heart, right? The first step is to silence your mobile phones, actually. It's a very important step. Okay. Now, having done so, we take an object of meditation, an idea that we're meditating on. An object of meditation is just an idea or a feeling or something that you take to rest your mind on. So here we take an idea that there is light present in the heart. You can debate about, is there really light present in the heart? But you don't need to debate about this, actually, because if you take it as a hypothesis rather than a belief, then simply entertain this hypothesis for the purpose of determining whether or not it's true for yourself. It's an experiment, okay? So let's just suppose that there's light in the heart, okay? Now what do we do with it? We don't try to see it. This is not a physical light. You don't try to see it. Don't close your eyes and try to imagine a candle or anything like that. This is something that we can only feel. This is a feeling that emerges. This is all about feeling. So all that we do, and that's why we're meditating on the heart, because the heart is where we feel things. That's where you love somebody, your heart, not with your knees or your shoulders. So what we do is we simply close our eyes, and having closed our eyes, we presume that our whole attention and awareness is already settled in the heart. We don't have to do anything and try to concentrate on the heart. You simply presume, okay, my awareness is settled in the heart. And there in the heart, there's some light that is present. You can say a very unique kind of light. You can even call it, light from your source. Give it a special quality. You could call it divine light if you like. Okay? So you presume that it's there in the heart. And now you sit still, and you simply, I would say, wait to see what kind of experience or feeling gradually starts to emerge as you meditate. I don't even like saying wait. This is too active. It's a very sort of passive thing. You sit there, you relax, you see what happens.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Josh, how do you relax? I mean, what you're saying is very interesting or very nice, but it's very difficult to even sit still a lot of times. You don't know how to go about it.
See, I know this guy, and he's giving me all these tough questions.
Yeah,
Anyway.
because all this sounds so wonderful, but when we have to do it, it's a different paradigm altogether.
I'll help you relax too.
Cool.
So actually, I'll walk you through everything, so don't worry. It will take about 10, 12 minutes. The first part will be a guided meditation, and then I'll just remain silent. I'll say, just please start. And then we'll sit quietly for about 10 minutes, and then I'll tell you when it's over too. Okay?
So
Shall we
we
begin?
Okay.
Yeah. Please close your eyes. Very gently and softly. And you can bring your attention now to your toes. You can move your toes so you can feel them. And now relax them. And relax your feet. You can even imagine that there is a current of healing energy entering through the soles of your feet, entering to the bottom of your feet, which is now relaxing them. And that this healing current of energy from the earth is moving gently up your legs, relaxing every muscle as it travels, relaxing your ankles, relaxing your lower legs and knees. Relax your upper legs and hips. Relax your waist and all of your abdominal muscles. Relax them. This energy continues to move up your body, relaxing your chest, every muscle. And all the muscles of your back, from the base of your spine to your shoulders, everything is relaxing. Let your shoulders relax. Let them feel so relaxed, as if they're melting, like liquid. And your upper arms, your triceps and bicep muscles, your elbows, and all the muscles of your forearms, let them relax too. Relax your wrists and your hands and fingers, and feel that energy flowing out from your fingertips. Now relax your neck, all your neck muscles, your throat, your jaws. Relax your mouth, your tongue, even your teeth. Relax your nose and all the muscles of your face. Relax your eyes, your eyeballs. Let there be so much softness around your eyes, so gently closed. Your ears and earlobes. And relax your whole head all the way up to the top. Now, gently become aware of your entire body. And if there's any place that you missed out, any place that you need to relax even further, relax that place, relax that muscle. And allow your whole body to become totally relaxed. And suggest to yourself that your attention is there, centered in the heart. In the heart, where light from your source is present, which is drawing you inwards, to the core of your being. And allow yourself to gradually get absorbed in this feeling as it starts to emerge. And please begin meditation. Just sit silently for a few moments more, observing how you feel now that meditation is over. Gradually, as you feel ready, you can open your eyes. remaining in touch with that inner feeling that you have. To understand that it's the effect that meditation leaves on you is far more significant than anything you experience during the process.
You know, the theme of this Lit Fest is called "It's Got to Be Lit." And I'm sure something has definitely got lit today, because that was really a very absorbing session. And I have really no words, so I'll take the easy route and open the audience to ask some questions, if any. Of course, a lot of us are going to be very quiet here, so yeah, sure. Can we have the mic there, please?
So two things. One, a query. You mentioned not to let past memories impact future ones, because you carry that negativity with you. Sometimes it needn't be negativity; it could only be a memory. So it's not something negative that's stored within you that you bring to the fore subsequently, or is it that you're saying that you leave all baggage, good, bad, ugly, indifferent behind? So that's the query. And the other is whether this meditation session that we had, whether you term it yoga nidra or a spin-off from there, or is this something entirely different?
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate the Clint Eastwood reference, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think that's basically what it is. Any baggage, we want to... See, when we talk about freedom, that means being unconditioned, in an unconditioned state. By what? By the effects of the past. Now, does this mean that we're no longer going to have any of our knowledge, any of our memories? No, we need those things. You know, we've spent so much money on our educations. Is it all just going to fly out the window? No. So it's not the memories or the knowledge that we have. That existential memory will stay with us. But the emotional memory, the emotional residue attached to that memory is what we become free from. Right? So that's what it is that does get removed through the practice of yoga, through the practice, this I'm specifically talking about a form of yoga called Raja Yoga, which is what this heartfulness system is, and through a particular practice which we call cleaning, by which we remove these this emotional residue, or if you want to be theoretical and speak about yogic philosophy, there it's called samskara, but it's the same thing. So this is what gets just certainly removed. And next part of your question, my existential memory has failed me. Yoga Nidra.
Or is this a different practice?
Yeah, this practice is dhyana. It's meditation. Yoga Nidra is a state of being. That can come as a result of meditation, but many other states of being can also come through meditation, whether it's the state of samadhi, whether it's yoga nidra, whether so many different things. So that also that depends on what state, what we experience during meditation. There are many, many possibilities. So that'll be unique, and that'll be different each time you do it too.
Anything else, sir?
Hello. Yeah, my question will be more specific to the topic we are attending today, destiny and free will. Now, I am a testimony, I can say. It's just 5 months before. I was totally on antidepressants. I was told by doctor that I have to take sensitivity medicine for lifelong. I just turned toward meditation and I'm on 0 medications. So I am an entire testimony for this, that meditation is a complete solution for everything. Now, my question is that when we say destiny and free will, for destiny, we have to work towards it. To a certain level maybe, not completely, and free will is completely let alone thing. Whatever happens is accepted. But where do we draw that line? Because unless we exercise intention or work towards our destiny, we will not be getting what we want. So what is the line between a free will and the destiny? Where it comes?
It's a chicken and the egg scenario.
Actually, it's same for me. I fail to understand that.
Yeah, understanding this is, you know, again in the city of Vivekananda, where having discrimination or viveka leads to ananda, leads to bliss, right? Vivekananda. So to understand what is cause and what is effect, this torments us, right? For which again, same prescription is there. Same prescription is there. Removing the refuse, meditating and finding that, discovering that inner GPS system, that inner radar, which will show us, will give us clarity to be able to understand. Ultimately, you know, as I said, what I want everyone to take away from this is that, you know, anyway, we're making a destiny for ourselves. Our free will can determine which direction that destiny takes us. We have that agency. We have that power to decide, I will create A, B, or C paths for myself. And also, thankfully, we have the tools to mitigate some of the effects of the previous destinies which we've created, which we're now undergoing. You know? And also, in case anybody's worried, I've mentioned my father so many times. When I was at home, not a taster session like this 10 minutes we had. I gave him 3 proper, 30-minute, 40-minute sessions. After the first one, he was in tears because he hadn't felt so relieved in so long. By the 3rd session, he was walking around the house whistling. I haven't heard him, it's a beautiful whistle. I haven't heard that since I was a child. So these things work.
He had a question.
Would that mean we can actually, are you alluding to karma when you said you can actually mitigate? So are you alluding to karma? And if indeed you're alluding to karma, then is it not our destiny that we would in this life have mitigated some of the negative karma that we came with, because that's what destiny meant for it to be?
Well, in terms of the first question, I mean, karma is something, I mean, this is a concept here. Now we're going into the metaphysical, you know. And here, of course, in India is where this idea has possibly originated from and is widespread comparatively, right? Now, when you see this idea, if you go deeper into it, if you go deeper, okay, beyond just a belief that some actions that I commit will have a result and that I'll experience the fruit of that result, then you actually find, you know, especially if you study the, you know, the Yoga Sutras, Rishi Patanjali, right? You actually find so much, and also Swami Vivekananda, so much talk about samskaras. The real idea here isn't that it is just the actions that I take which create my future destiny. Not just actions, but also thoughts and emotions. In fact, exclusively thoughts and emotions. Because if I perform an act and I create no trace upon myself through that action, no emotional trace, right? No samskaric trace upon myself through that action, there will be no fruit of that action that I will experience. That's what the real theory is, right? So it's actually a theory of samskaras. Samskaras or samskaras or emotional residue coming as a result of the action that I've taken, right?
So would you say that karma is action?
Karma itself means
and
action.
the impression left by karma, baggage is called samskara.
Thank you. Exactly. Now, the result, which I'm supposed to experience according to this theory, is not actually the result of the action, but somehow this impression in me is like some sort of cosmic bill of sale. It's a receipt, right? And if I don't hold on to that receipt, I can't collect. I can't collect the fruit of that action, right? So if you're, according to this theory, if you're able to remove that samskaric residue from yourself, then what fruits would you then experience in the future? You would be reducing that storehouse. Now you can go into the mythological as well. You can look at the great epic, Mahabharat, right? And you have Bhishma, who dies lying upon a bed of arrows. And he is absolutely confounded as to why he's experiencing such a fate. Because he says, I can see all of my past lives. I mean, I can see 100 of my past lives, he says, and I can't see anything which has caused me to come to such an end. And then in the story, Lord Krishna comes around, and he tells him, yeah, but you can only see 100. I can see more than 100, and I can see what caused this. When you were in some previous birth, you took a snake. Everyone knows the story, I'm sure. You flung it around your head, and you threw it. It landed on some thorn bush. And so you're dying now in the same way, pierced by so many arrows. So obviously, he wasn't aware of what caused that effect. So therefore, how could he possibly learn from it? He can't learn anything from this, because it's disconnected by so much time, lapsing in between the cause and the effect. So in this case, what does it show? It would only show that there's some other purpose to undergoing the fruit of that particular samskara. And that fruit would be to actually purify you from the effect. Now, that would mean, if you just extrapolate on that theory, that when you experience things in your everyday life and events, you can say, okay, this is a result of some past action. What good is it doing? It should ultimately free me from that emotional burden that I was carrying, but instead, what are we doing? Somebody, something, I don't get the job that I was applying for. You react, you say, you get disappointed. So as a result of the things which we experience, which are supposedly the fruits of previous samskaras, now we're actually only creating new ones, further reactions we're having, and instead of diminishing this whole, store, we're actually increasing. Therefore, again, if you subscribe to this kind of idea in life, this kind of theory, again, the importance from this angle of becoming non-reactive. So you don't increase that.
So we may have time for just one last question.
What is the cause and effect of the meditation?
Can you repeat, please?
What is the cause and effect of the meditation in the Heartfulness Way?
Effect of the meditation is something you have to see for yourself. I can tell you the effects that I have experienced as a result of practicing. I can share them with you all day and all night. And tomorrow, if I meditate again, I'll have something new to share with you, because this keeps on changing. Because to go to a changeless state, a purely unconditioned state of being, which is a state of freedom, we have to undergo so much change, undoing and unraveling that which we have created ourselves, right? So the effect remains unknown. The destination remains unknown. We are moving towards X, right? The Shastras may define it in some way. They may define yoga as union. Union with what? Union with the ultimate, they'll say. But this is just abstract for us. This is just theoretical for us. We don't know where we're going. But every time I meditate and I get a hint of the peace, I get a hint of some blissful state inside, or whatever it may be, every time I meditate, I'm getting a fragrance. Like when you go towards the ocean and you get a fragrance of the ocean, though the ocean is not yet there, you say, aha, now I'm approaching something. I'm getting a hint, a whiff, a fragrance of the direction in which I'm going. So like this, we take step after step after step after step on the path, always getting a sense of what's coming next while experiencing where we are. And the cause. What is the cause of meditation? Well, at least you should have a cause, because if you don't, then you won't meditate. That much I can say. If you feel something within yourself when you meditate just now, that I want to repeat this, then that's your cause for meditation. If you feel a dissatisfaction, if you feel a restlessness, where everything that I'm searching for, all this bliss that everybody seeks, that I'm searching for externally, and only experiencing never any total contentment as a result of it. See, this restlessness propels us. It propels us to go further into the world, or it propels us to turn within. When we get frustrated, seeking and seeking and seeking, and yet finding that we lack that ultimate contentment for which we're really seeking, then maybe something strikes us, and we say, let me try a different tack. And then that becomes the cause of our taking up a process such as meditation. So it is this restlessness which will be the cause of our meditative journey. Now, what is the cause of the restlessness? That's another question.
I guess we don't really have time for more questions. It's been interesting, this discussion. I still don't know whether I really have free will or my wife decides. But I think we have definitely more illumination on this practice. And I guess by whatever you've spoken or whatever you've told us, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And it seems the pudding is going to change in taste every day. So we have no choice but to try it every day and see what taste it has in store for us. Make sense?
Well said.
So thank you, Joshua. Thank you, everyone. You've been a wonderful audience. We're sorry we don't have more time for questions. But Joshua will be available at the book counter, I guess, for book signings and stuff. For those who don't know, he's just written a book on meditation called The Heartfulness Way. It's been a bestseller, sold a few 100,000 copies worldwide. I think the book itself has been quite a journey for him. And very soon a new book on the very similar subject called Designing Destiny is going to be released. So it's been interesting and illuminating to discuss these topics. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to Malvika, to the organizers of this wonderful literary meet, and to all of you. All the best.
Thank you.